A show based on the facts, honesty, the man, the myth, the legend, constitutionalist Joseph M. Leonard.
Welcome to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast, aka CTP. I am your host, Joseph M. Leonard, and that's Leonard. CTP is your no muss, no fuss, just me, you, and occasional guest type podcast. Really appreciate you tuning in. As Graham Norton would say, let's get on with the show!
Welcome to another episode of Constitutionalist Politics Podcast. Joining me today is Marissa Simonetti. How are you today, Marissa?
Good. How are you?
As I said in the green room, a bit slow and tired, but but you know we'll make it through.
I think we're all feeling it a little bit. I definitely am.
Yeah, well, the weather here too has been up and down. Couple warm days, couple cold, windy days, rainy day. So that don't help.
Yeah. It's what state are you in?
I'm in Michigan.
Okay. Oh, you're not far from me. I'm in Minnesota. We've had the similar.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and I was joking yesterday, first day of spring, since give people an idea when we're recording, about that indeed. Not funny, Mother Nature, not funny. Supposed to be spring, huh? Sure don't feel like it.
It's a prank. They're playing a prank on us.
At any rate, let's start with the proverbial usual first question. Who are you? Where were you born and raised? And we already heard where you are now. Those sorts of things.
Yeah, so I live in the Twin Cities now here in Minneapolis. I'm a mother. I, in my 20s, worked in real estate, so I have rental property. I'm not a real estate agent, but I have rental property. I do social media, and in 2024, I was a first-time candidate on the local ballot, which was an adventure into of itself. For anybody who's ever run.
Yeah, I have. I've been
You
there,
have?
been there, done that a few times in the
Really?
in the 90s. So
What did you love about running, or what made you do it more than once?
well, I just felt somebody needed to step up, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Which is why you're here.
Yeah.
Indeed. So now you're thinking of running for office again. That's why you're here. Yes. Let's go ahead and dig into that a little bit.
That's right. So my plan on May 28th, 2026, I will file. We have it here in Minnesota. The even year are the big election years. So I'm going to be running for one of the statewide offices. And that'll be this year. I'm taking off, focusing on my business, growing that. 2026 is going to be where it's at.
Yeah. Well, you can never get started too soon. But like you said, you had already run once. So that's the hardest one, right? Because no one knows you. You got to get people to get to know you. And after you've run once, at least, you're not starting from the absolute zero.
Yes. What was your biggest challenge and biggest opportunity when you ran?
My biggest challenge was not actually necessarily name recognition, because I had been involved in politics for a while before that. I've been involved in politics since 1978. So,
Oh, wow.
I've been involved. People knew me. Of course, getting others to then know you is another thing. And of course, me being in a deep blue area, running as a Republican was the obvious biggest challenge there. But as I said, of those who came before me, and people can think of me now as came before them, with each election cycle, we change things a little. And
change things?
well, the makeup of the area made it a little less blue each time. You know what I mean?
So the new people moved in to change the demographics, or people cross lines?
Yeah, just getting people to cross over more or less, to understand that, hey, you've been voting that way forever and you're complaining things haven't changed. Well, what's the definition of insanity, as they say?
Wow. And you guys got people to cross line. That is so hard to do.
Yeah. And again, it takes time, it takes a lot of effort, but
Yeah.
I think things are again in that atmosphere where people are waking up to the fact, maybe it's some things we're doing or not doing, contributing to why things are not going the way we want them. And we've got to start changing things up a bit if we, right? Like I always say, I'm always about, I don't care what you're telling me, right? The Rush, the Canadian rock group, the Presto album, show, don't tell. Show me, don't tell me. I don't want to hear your garbage, frankly. What can you show me that tells me you actually stand for what you claim you're standing for, will do what you claim you're going to do, not just empty hot air nonsense. Show me some proof.
It's that trust element. Does their words and actions align?
Exactly. And trust, respect have to be earned. And the only way that happens, right? Yeah, I'm tired of, on both sides of the political aisle, some people saying the same stuff, but when it comes time to action, right? I don't care what your supposed intentions are. What have you wrought? This is a Christian show. Shall be known by your fruits.
Yes.
I don't care if your intention is to put a unicorn in every backyard. What are your results? What have you got to show for your supposed efforts? And if it's to put a chicken in every pot, but instead there's a lump of coal in every stocking. This is long past Christmas now, but which is a misnomer. People wanted coal for Christmas because it meant they had something to burn to be warm with in the winter. But of course, today's standards, we think of, oh, you got a lump of coal? That's a negative thing, right? What have you delivered that I have? What is your record, especially when you've not been in office yet of any kind? What do you have to show that demonstrates how you will be if elected?
I think that's one of the best questions. And I love that you're so pointed and direct, because the most predictable way that you can know what someone will do is what they've done in the past. So
past practice is not an absolute indicator of future performance, but it's a pretty good indicator.
Yep. Yeah. Unless there's some major thing that's going to change, right? There's a reason why there would be change. You can pretty much assume that what you got in the past is what you'll get in the future. So, I mean, from a lot of this stuff is you have to come from a business mindset. The position I was running for, Hennepin County Commissioner, it was primarily administrative. They set property taxes, and from those property taxes, you pay for things like the sheriff's department, county corrections. So you're involved in addressing crime, libraries, parks, kind of these valuable services. And my background throughout my 20s was business. I started from like scratch from making a bad business decision, bad partnership, got pregnant with my son, was at 0. And over the last, my son is 7 now, yes, 8 years, have built up a very sizable portfolio that generates, monthly income, and I've done other business ventures. So from a business perspective, I knew I could wrap my hands around what the job entailed. I have a degree in psychology from the University of Minnesota. So everything is working with people, right? How can you get the best, bring out the best in people? Because ultimately, as a leader, you want to have the ability to bring out the best in people. As a single mom, I had to put my own life in order, right? If you find yourself as a single mom, something went wrong somewhere, and you have to course correct and reconsider what you might do differently and bring yourself from maybe a little bit of chaos to a place of peace. And that's not a like overnight thing. That's a multi-year journey, and you change the way that you think. So in terms of like fruit, you'll know them by your deeds. You look at Marissa 7 years ago, 3 years ago, even 30 days ago, I'm always improving, right? Every single day, things get a little bit better for me. So nobody's perfect. I'm still, spicy Italian lady, but things have really, my life is very good. Very good. Great friends,
Yeah.
relationships. It's good.
All right. You mentioned I'm part Italian also, so
Are you really?
yeah. Do you make
Italian in Michigan.
do you do you make gnocchi?
I am not a good cook. I
Oh,
have so many other irons in the fire that sometimes I'm tired. I could if I wanted to, but I'm tired.
I hear you on that. Well, you mentioned economics. So let me right up front, I'm referring to an article I wrote last year before the election. I'm asking a trick question. I'm telling you right up front. So be prepared. Obviously, I'm coming at this with a slant. Is the number 6 always better than the number 3?
Better in terms of more?
That's the rub. Is it really? Exactly. I wrote the article, is the number 6 always better than the number 3? Well, our initial gut reaction would be, well, the number 6 is a bigger number, right? So you think it does mean more. So most people's gut reaction would be yes, unless if there's a special circumstance. And therein lies the trick question. Is a 6% raise better than a 3% raise? Again, most people's initial reaction would be, well, of course, 6% of whatever my number is a better increase than 3% of whatever my number is. Unless if inflation is 9% when you're getting the 3% raise, like under Bidenomics, or during Trump, you got first term, a 3% raise, but inflation was 2%. The 3% was actually a better raise because you were ahead of inflation, right? Yeah. So things are not the point beyond just some people have no clue about basic math, basic economics, or accounting 101 at all, that things are gray. They're not always black and white. There's a lot of other factors, right? So you didn't know where I was going with that question. Now that I've said it, you understand, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you though, if I woke up with 6 kids instead of 3, I'd panic.
Oh, there's a good response. There's a definite case where 6 would not be better than 3, right? Oh, that's funny. That's really good. I'm see now. This is important you're showing an ability to be quick on your feet, and that's important here.
Well, I'm silly, right? I like to just have a good. Do you have kids?
No, I don't have kids. I've got 0, which is better than the 3 or the 6.
If you woke up at 6, you would really panic. Kids have a way, like my son is 7, I just have 1, and just being so light and genuine, and I'm really leaning towards like that. It's just such a beautiful thing, the innocence, the sweetness, the honesty to it, and drawing out those sides of my personality because it's fun to be around. Like when you don't take things too seriously and you do your best to enjoy life, and no matter what's going on, right, you might get ruffled, but you still try, and you look like, how can I have some fun, right? What would be a good time? Is it going to be Legos? Is it going to be this? It makes life more enjoyable.
Yeah. Now, of course, a Christian show, a family value show. So I was joking. I had always thought that I would have children. It just never happened to work out that way. So, right. I also, though, as a Christian host, don't believe that the only purpose of life is self-perpetuation of the species. In my mind, if that were the case, there's no real meaning to life. Your reaction to that heavy thought?
Yeah, finding your life purpose, and life feels kind of aimless if you're not operating from some sense of purpose. Yeah. How would you define what your life purpose is?
Well, now it's dealing with this, of course. I've been on disability since 2004. So this is an opportunity to give me a chance to do something, and kind of it's my next political evolvement also. I can't do as much out there. I have chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome, as well as a host of other problems. Had leukemia, that's why the bald head.
Really?
So
How long ago did you have leukemia?
2010. I like to joke. Yeah, I didn't choose the hairstyle, it chose me, right? So yeah, I'm tired all the time, but so and being on disability, I don't have the money either to be driving all over the place and attending meetings and rallies and speak at engagements and that. So I speak from as I joke, lifting the green screen, my ugly couch in the living room to the people this way. I can still reach. So indeed, I have a point and a purpose. And the whole reason I invented the term constitutionalist, Christian, Judeo-Christian foundations of our nation, and its biblical roots, because many warp language, including the Bible, like trying to proclaim Jesus was a socialist. No, when he said we are to be our brother's keeper, that is from a loving standpoint, but there's a whole lot of tough love parts in the Bible too that people want to gloss over, right? It is biblical community, free will, a free people. We are to want to be our brothers and sisters' keeper and take care of widows and orphans. The Bible also, though, makes the distinction between those who are unable and those who are unwilling. I have no obligation whatsoever to the unwilling, who are just unwilling to make things of, or even attempt to try to make something of themselves. Like you had said earlier about being a little better today than yesterday. There's the point. A desire to want to make things better.
Yeah.
That's versus worldly communism, which is by force. I don't have the right to force you to give any of your blood and treasure to your neighbors. I want you to want to do that.
So it's a different direction of force. So it would be like when I use my force and my energy to change myself, it's like focused on right? The force is on myself. The pressure is
I've got several shows on self-reflection. I like to joke Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, or Rick Springfield, his kind of version. Prayer. I send a prayer to heaven for the chance to be a better man than the man I see. My reflection in the mirror. Self-reflection. It's like on the airplane. If we lose pressure, what? Put your mask on first, because you can't help anyone else if you can't help yourself.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, being a parent, a lot of it is teaching through modeling, but also sometimes you have to exert like force or energy, right, per se, to like have corrective redirectional moments. And that's exhausting. I mean, that's a labor of love. And so I think to have to do that for any other grown adults, I don't do that. That's exhausting. That's a losing battle. It's like, I am who I am, right? And people either fit within the parameters and frameworks and like healthy boundaries that I have, or else I'll do the clean wave.
Right. Yeah. And right. That's again the put on your oxygen mask first, or you're unable to help others. You have to be able to help and be good with what you are and what you're doing, or you're not in a position to potentially help anyone else. And as you said, and as I said, the difference between the unable and the unwilling, reaching those and helping those that are able to be helped, not those that are just always going to drag you and everybody else down with them.
How do we identify the difference?
That's always a rub, because you've right. Only God knows for sure our hearts.
Yeah.
And it is not judge not lest ye be judged. Matthew 7 really is, and there's more than just the 7 words, condemn not lest ye be condemned, right? Remove the log from thine own eye. We are to judge, the Bible tells us over and over, that people ignore on biblical standards and not be a hypocrite. But yeah, we can get things wrong because, as you said, we're human. We're frail. We're flawed. We're imperfect. We can make mistakes. And everyone is entitled to a bad day now and again. So we have to be careful, right? Martin Luther King Jr., content of character. A first impression can be wrong.
Yeah. How do you pick yourself up when you're having a rough day? What do you do to take control of your mind, right? Like take those thoughts captive.
Well, I usually sit down and hit record and vent. Right? As an outlet for the show too, right? Because, you may not have meant to allude there, but again, to know thyself and to thyself be true, but others may be thinking and feeling the way you are, and sharing that alone may also be able to help others. Now, before I forget, I want to joke with you. I said in the green room I was going to joke with you about your name. Now, like when I write Joseph M. Leonard, so I don't know if you watch Hannity at all. I think he's just a parrot. I don't waste my time, because anything he says, 10 other people will have already said it 10 times better than him. But I forget where I was going to go with that. At any rate, yeah, I forgot now. I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens.
You were saying something fun. My name is Shauna.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. The name thing, right? Joseph M. Leonard. Part of Hannity's shtick is the forgotten man and woman, right? The average person. That was people thought I was putting myself down, but others got it. My campaign slogan was vote for an average Joe. Right? The common man, the everyday man. I'm like you. I understand where you're coming from. And I wanted to joke with you about your campaign slogan. And again, I know it's not properly pronounced this way, but Simonetti says, vote Marissa. Right? A play on Simon Says.
That's cute. I've never heard that.
Yeah, there you go. You can use that, right, as a lighthearted moment. And again, it's important that we show we have a sense of humor and we have no business making fun of anyone else if we're not willing to make fun of ourselves.
That's right. Some good old roasts. I went and had lunch every other Friday. I go to my son's school and have lunch with him and volunteer in the lunchroom. And the one little girl there, all the kids in his class, and they kind of know me and from the neighborhood. And the one girl, she thinks I'm cool, the older person, but she wanted to roast me. And have you ever heard that little rhyme? You look like an animal in the zoo. It's just sweet. They're looking for it to interact and connect.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Joseph M. Leonard, host of Constitutionalist, taking a brief moment to thank myarchic.com. Together we share the Christian and family value of honoring family. myarchic.com helps you do that. Preserving family memories online also, therefore, can be shared online. Think of myArchic like a Noah's Ark for images, audio, video, preserving, honoring your family. Thank you again to the folks over at myarchic.com.
Yeah. Oh, and you mentioned psychology, right? And Jesus said the poor will always be among you. That's not an economic statement. It's not a governance statement. It is a human nature statement, which lends to that point about the unwilling versus the unable. There will always be some who are unwilling to do much of anything. They're looking to coast, to skate, to get by. They're happy with little, and especially if others will always keep giving them things, they're happy to do that. So Jesus said that the poor will always be among you.
I would question if they're happy or if they're comfortable.
No, that's an important point of the point, right? As long as they feel bread and circus, I discuss on the show all this, as long as they got a little bread for their belly and enough circus distractions going on to keep them entertained, they're more than happy enough with what they've got. And again, that's that distinction between someone who's unable to make better of themselves versus someone unwilling. But you mentioned psychology, which brought this on, which then leads me to a psychology question. If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
I remember, I grew up in Pennsylvania, and it was within driving distance of Washington, D.C., and they have the Cherry Blossom Festival. And
I immediately knew you were going there, yeah.
You can picture it, right?
Yeah.
I was homeschooled, and so we did a lot of field trips with other families in our church. And that was one that we took. We went up to Washington, D.C. for the Cherry Blossom Festival, and just, you picture it, the beautiful trees. And if I was younger, but they're like these little pinkish flowers, blossoms. That's what I'm picturing in my mind is what I remember.
Yeah.
And they're just cool. And then they turn into fruit.
Yeah. And this is exactly why I joke with I don't script shows. Whatever weird rabbit hole opens up, I dive in head first, and you mentioned psychology, so I figured let's ask that dumb question everybody hates. But you were able to again, you're quick on your feet, which is good, and formulate an answer there. Now, I also caught in that conversation, again, why I don't like to script. We just go where it goes. You mentioned homeschool. When I asked your upbringing, you didn't go into that, but you mentioned that. So I take it you're very much a school choice, school options, parental's rights kind of person.
Yeah, I had a great experience being homeschooled. You know, you always like bump heads with your parents and think you're smarter growing up, of course, right? But
part of that human nature psychology. Yeah.
Maybe I am just smarter though, you know. But I played tennis in high school for the local high school, and I wanted to go senior year for the experience. After 11 days, I was like, take me back. It was I got such a good education. Who I am today, my ability to problem solve, to enjoy learning, that growth process is all from my mom. And even today, she works with kids, tutoring full time, who have learning challenges, and it really like gives them the gift of being able to overcome things and become proud of like their ability to figure it out. And that's who my mom is, and I think it's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start to wrap things up.
Yeah.
And what was like I said at the beginning, mentally and emotionally, I am just mentally and physically, I'm just drained today. But as I said, we'll get through this. But another example of indeed, I've lost my train of thought. I need a nap. But indeed, I know what it was. Wrapping things up. There's a reason, folks, why I haven't asked her what office she's running for. She's not officially announced, and she's not going to officially announce, as she already herself said during this, for which office for a while yet. It's just not that right time to do so. She's you can never start too early, making sure people have an option, an outlet, an opportunity, like she appeared on Savaged Unfiltered the other day, which I am a co-host of. I wasn't on that episode. I came in while you and Michael were wrapping up your recording to do a recording after that. But indeed, you're not ready to do that yet. You're doing this, the getting to know Marissa Simonetti says vote Marissa stage.
Well, and getting to know you too, and like learning and hearing. Like one thing I've been on, this is my 10th podcast this week, and I've had such a cool like opportunity to talk to people I wouldn't normally cross paths with and learn really cool facts and perspectives. And to me, that's so fun.
Yeah, I have 5 international books, so I not only do my own show, as I said, Savaged Unfiltered, I co-host. I met Michael, aka Savaged, 4 years ago when I was getting ready to release my first. I'd been writing my whole life, but it was my first internationally published book, and we hit it off so well that he said, hey, would you like to do the podcast as a host sometimes? And I said, sure, which then I appreciate him as my mentor because it led to my having my own show. You don't want to just start from scratch and not knowing much, although nowadays, like I joke, again, the ugly couch, anyone could do a podcast from their living room if they really want to. And just fudge your way through and learn, and you of course get better as you go. But at any rate, lost my train of thought. Thank you, Lord, it came back. Indeed, going on other shows to discuss my books. So I understand what you're saying and where you're coming from. Indeed, going on shows to talk about my books, or I talk about UFOs on some shows. I talk about mental health on some shows. I talk politics on many shows. I've discussed movies on many shows. So yeah, it's a lot of fun being able to be on the podcastee, as the word I invented, podcaster. Right now, you're the podcastee side of things. Yes.
I'll try and keep it straight.
Yeah, well, one of my books, I don't have it handy, or I'd grab it to show it, is Podcasting Quick Start Guide. How to start your own podcast, low cost, low key, and then build from there. And it's that book that I invented the term, you could be the podcaster or the podcastee. I've invented a million hashtags over the last, however many years X has been around. Just weird things popping. Cover the kids' ears. This is not bad, but this is a G-rated show normally. One of the terms or hashtags I invented was mass holes. The masses of asses. There's a whole lot of mass holes out there, right?
There is. Be kind to people. Be kind, guys.
In fact, one episode I have in the catalog from before Valentine's Day, I had the inventor of the game, Am I the Ass, on. Great game. You learn about each other and psychology, human nature through it. And I gave him that term. You can use the term mass holes in your marketing, because indeed it's a game about, like, one of the questions, I shared it with Buttons, we call her, at Frank's Pizza. She's a waitress there. And, like TGI Fridays, she wears a lot of buttons. So we call her Buttons. But her and her boyfriend are going through this, phase now. The one question I did look at and gave away was elope or big wedding, right? The woman in the question asks, am I the ass for just wanting to elope rather than
I'm going to just elope?
You do the parents thing of wanting the big wedding, right? Well, everybody's situation is different. What can you afford the wedding? There's a whole lot of factors. So, but that's that human nature, human interaction. Is it only about you and yourself, or does the family? So indeed, it asks, are you the ass if you just up and elope? And that resonated with Buttons because it's the same thing. The parents pressuring for wanting a traditional wedding thing and their desire to not deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. One day I'm just going to show up married. That's how it's going to work.
That's funny. That's funny. Oh, that's funny. At any rate, I certainly never expected that I would go down that road with you. But, that's a family values question in a way there, right?
Family, a sustainable partnership, and having children within that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, indeed. Wrapping it up now that I didn't go, I think I went down a moose hole rather than a rabbit hole there. That's like kind of way off the beaten path. But at any rate, do you have a website yet for people to find you?
So people can find me on social media if they just look up my name. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook page. Yeah, just look up Marissa Simonetti and I'm on there. I can send you my links if you want to tag it.
All right, sounds good. And of course, I still have a candidate website up for me. Well, it's available through Web Archives now. I mean, it's long gone, but yeah, you can still find an old candidate page for me out there floating around. So soon, of course, you'll be needing a candidate website page. Yep. It's a absolute must these times, but for now, find you via social media, and indeed, oh, darn it, I thought it's, oh, and again, remember, Simonetti says, vote Marissa, whatever the office is going to be.
That's right.
All right, well, thank you for joining me today, Marissa. It was great having a chat with you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having tuned in for Constitutionalist Politics Show. If you haven't already, please check out my primary internationally available book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. Available anywhere books are sold. If you have locally run bookstores still near you, they can order it for you. And let me remind, over time, the fancy high production items will come. But for now, for starters, it's just you as a very appreciated listener by me. All substance, no fluff, just straight to key discussion points. A show that looks at a variety of topics, mostly politics, through a Christian U.S. constitutionalist lens. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless. Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM is your conservative flamethrower. Weekdays, Steve Gruber starts things off at 6 a.m. Gruber gives his perspective on the issues of the day. At 9 a.m., Glenn Beck blazes the airwaves with his nationally syndicated program. From noon to 3, it's Dennis Prager. At 3 o'clock, it's Wham's own Thayrone X. On the Edge, Thayrone tells it exactly as he sees it. At 6, it's The Dana Show, your conservative alternative. At 8, don't miss Joe Pags. Weekends are filled with conservative talk as well. Fingers Malloy, Thomas LeDuc, The Abolitionists Roundtable, A Moment of Clarity with Pastor Rick, Your American Heritage with Ed Bondarenka, Dave Janda's Operation Freedom, and Dick Kupke's Trigger Talk. You can even get links to Wham podcasts from Dave, Dick, and of course Thayrone, all from their pages on our website, whamradio.com. Keep it locked on Wham Radio, 1600 AM and 92.7 FM in southeastern Michigan, and whamradio.com anywhere in the world.